This story follows a group of alien students learning about Earth, the deadliest planet in the galaxy. Their professor shows them Earth's most dangerous places, like Australia, filled with lethal animals and harsh conditions. The students are shocked and afraid, but one human student, David, laughs at their fear. David grew up in Australia and knows how to live with its dangers. He offers to show the class a virtual tour of Earth's harsh environment. The experience shocks the aliens and challenges their understanding of survival. This story is full of tension, wonder, and cultural clash as two very different species learn from each other about what it means to live on a death world. The tone is dramatic and cinematic, mixing suspense, humor, and emotion. The stakes are high because this first contact with a human forces the aliens to rethink their assumptions about Earth and humanity. The story explores survival, adaptation, and respect between species in a dangerous universe. Professor Astaro stood at the center of the ancient stone platform. The room was a huge amphitheater, filled with alien students from many worlds. Their bodies were strange and varied. Some had shining shells made of crystals, others had thick fur or translucent skin that showed their insides. They all looked at Astaro with wide eyes. Above the professor's head, a glowing 3D sphere appeared. It was Earth. The blue oceans and green lands rotated slowly. Light sparkled on the dark side of the planet, cities full of life. The students gasped. They had heard stories about Earth. But now they saw it for themselves. Astaro's voice was calm but serious. Today, we begin the study of death worlds. The deadliest planet known to the Galactic Federation is Earth. It holds many deadly zones. We start with the continent of Australia. The sphere zoomed into Australia. The red deserts and hot lands filled the space. The professor's voice grew quiet and respectful. Australia is a land of extremes. The day heat can reach over 50 degrees Celsius, and at night, the cold can freeze the air. Life here is harsh. Images appeared. Snakes with venom so strong they could kill hundreds of beings. Spiders whose bites cause pain and death. Jellyfish with poison that stops hearts. Even tiny mosquitoes carried diseases that had taken more lives than wars. The classroom was silent. The students shifted nervously. Kraza, a female czar with red fur and black spots, whispered, "This is worse than my home planet. We have acid rain and carnivorous plants, but this," she shook her head. Other students murmured. A gelatinous being pulsed nervously, and a large insectoid clicked its mandibles in doubt. How could any species survive here? Then a deep laugh broke the silence. It was raw, human, and unexpected. All eyes turned to row 4. There sat David Brown, a human with bronze skin and short, sparse hair. His laughter echoed through the hall. "Sorry, mate," he said with a grin. "I live there. Queensland, Australia. It's not as bad as you think." The class froze. Professor Astaro's crystal shell flickered with surprise. How had a human entered this class? The Federation rarely admitted humans, and never in a course about death worlds. Kraza stood abruptly, claws raised in defense. "We are not mates. I do not know you. And whatever you mean by mate, it is not happening here." David laughed again, showing strong teeth made for biting and chewing all kinds of food. "Relax. Here, mate means friend. Like buddy or pal. Even your worst enemy can be a mate. It's just how we talk." The professor cleared his throat. "Mr. Brown, it appears you are the first human student admitted to this university. This was not properly flagged. My apologies." David shrugged. "No worries. Australia is tough, but you learn to live with it. You watch where you step, what you touch. You learn to respect the animals." The class watched him carefully. The Zorons in the back, reptilian with emerald scales, narrowed their eyes suspiciously. The transparent vitrioli moved away, their glowing hearts beating fast with stress. Kraza relaxed slightly. Tell us, human, is it really as dangerous as the data shows? David nodded. Yeah, it is. The snakes, spiders, crocs, heat, bugs, they can kill you if you're careless. But if you know the rules, it's not so bad. It's just home. Professor Estaro looked thoughtful. A field trip to a death world is dangerous, but Mr. Brown offers a different option. David pulled out a small flat device. It looked simple but powerful. We virtualize it. You can experience Australia without leaving your seat. Safe, 100%. The professor hesitated. The Federation's virtual reality tech is highly restricted. Sharing it takes years of approval. David smiled. We invented VR long ago. Our tech is better in some ways. Higher resolution, real feeling. I can set up a full simulation. We can walk the beaches, see the animals, feel the heat. All safe. Slowly, the students stopped trembling. Curiosity won over fear. Professor Estaro's crystal ears moved. Very well. Let us begin. A soft hum filled the room. The sphere above changed, showing a golden beach under a burning sun. The sand stretched far, meeting a blue ocean. The students appeared on the beach, each one adapting to Earth's gravity and heat as best they could. Kraza's fur fluffed against the humidity. The Zoran's scales darkened, absorbing the sunlight. The insectoids clicked their shells nervously. David smiled. Welcome to Queensland, mates. The sun was hot and heavy overhead, burning like a giant fireball. The golden sand stretched before them, meeting the endless blue ocean. The smell of salt and sea filled the air. The gentle breeze was barely enough to cool the heat. Professor Estaro shifted his weight, feeling the strange pull of Earth's gravity. It was stronger than the gravity of his home world. Each step took more effort. His crystal shell flickered through colors as he adjusted. The gravity here, it is not easy. David laughed, the sound ringing clear. You get used to it. We all do. The other students tried to move carefully. Kraza, still uneasy, kept her claws ready to dig into the sand for balance. The Zorons adopted a low, sliding gait to manage the weight pressing down on them. The insectoids moved in quick, jerky steps, pausing often to catch their breath. The vitrioli shimmered faintly, their translucent bodies glowing nervously. David pointed ahead. Come on. Let me show you something. They walked toward a river mouth where brown water mixed with blue. Logs and rocks lined the shore. Suddenly, one log shifted. The students froze. A massive crocodile, more than 6 meters long, lay camouflaged in the mud. Its armored skin matched the dirt perfectly. Its yellow eye opened slowly, cold and calculating. Beauty, David said with a grin. Let me show you. Before anyone could stop him, David sprinted toward the giant reptile. His feet barely sank in the hot sand. His muscles moved with power and speed. No! Kraza shouted, but it was too late. David slapped the crocodile's rough head with an open hand and shouted, Dag, you're it. Then he turned and ran back at full speed. The crocodile reacted instantly. It launched itself forward like a missile. Its massive jaws snapped at the air where David had been only seconds before. But David was faster. He reached the group, laughing, barely winded. It's not that dangerous if you're quick, he said. They're ambush hunters. They don't chase you far. Just gotta be faster than their first strike. The students were stunned. Some fell to their knees in shock. Others stood frozen, faces pale with fear. You actually hit a crocodile, whispered one insectoid, voice trembling. Under this gravity, we would have been eaten. David's grin faltered. Yeah, well, that's why we start kids young with this stuff. Knowing animal behavior keeps you alive. The professor looked around. Many students were shaken. Some quietly accessed their neural interfaces and disappeared from the simulation, unable to handle the stress. Psychological stress, Astaro muttered. We cannot force them to stay. David nodded. Okay, maybe the croc was too much. Let's try something smaller. He tapped his device again. The beach around them shimmered and changed. Now they stood in a eucalyptus forest. Tall trees stretched into the sky, offering cool shade. The air smelled sharp and fresh. David smiled. This is coastal taipan country. Beautiful snakes, really misunderstood. The Zoran scales suddenly flashed bright white, a fear response deeper than thought. Their vertical pupils dilated despite the bright light. We must leave, one hissed, stepping back. One by one, the reptilian students accessed their interfaces and vanished. The simulation adjusted. David's expression changed. He looked worried. But I haven't even shown you the best ones yet, he said. Professor Astaro spoke gently. Fear runs deep in reptilian species toward venomous snakes. It is a genetic memory. Now only a few insectoids, Kraza, the professor, and David remained. David took a deep breath. Okay. Something really small then. Not scary at all. He touched the device again. The scene shifted. They stood near a wooden shed. Shadows stretched over the ground. David pointed. Redback spiders. Common everywhere. Venomous, yes, but only dangerous if you stick your hand in their webs. The insectoids leaned closer, their compound eyes focusing on the small black spider with a red stripe. David smiled. We teach kids to check before they reach into dark places. Simple. Leave them alone, and they won't hurt you. For a moment, it seemed David had found something the group could accept. But one insectoid's voice broke the silence, flat and final. That is an arachnid. It is dangerous. No. The insectoids exchanged looks and disappeared as one. David and Kraza were left with the professor. The forest was quiet except for the wind and birds. Astaro's voice was low. Mr. Brown, I understand now what you meant about Earth not being so dangerous. David looked down. It's home. We live with it. But your world is not just dangerous, Kraza said quietly, it is casually dangerous. Danger is everywhere. You don't see it because you've adapted. David nodded slowly. Astaro gestured around. Your classmates come from worlds where predators are rare or slow. Your dangers are constant and invisible to them. To you, this is normal survival. David's eyes grew tired. Exactly. The professor's color shifted to serious blue. We have learned much today. But we must return. They faded out of the simulation. The classroom reappeared, empty except for them. The ancient stone floor was worn smooth by centuries of teaching. Astaro's colors flickered thoughtfully. There is a reason we call them death worlds. David and Kraza exchanged looks, respect, fear, and understanding mixed. The lesson was over. The classroom was silent except for the soft hum of the technology that held them. David, Kraza, and Professor Astaro sat alone among empty seats, each deep in thought. David rubbed the back of his neck, still feeling the weight of the day's lesson. I didn't mean to scare everyone, he said quietly. I just wanted to show them what it's like. Not all death worlds are the same. Kraza's red fur bristled softly as she looked at him. You live on a planet that wants to kill you every day. But you make it look normal. David smiled faintly. We don't really have a choice. It's home. You learn the rules or you don't last long. Astaro's crystal surface shimmered with emotion, something close to sadness. Your world teaches you resilience in a way none of us can imagine. But it also shows how fragile we all are. David looked up. Fragile? The professor nodded. You survived because you evolved alongside danger. But the rest of us, from safer worlds, wouldn't last long. We are not built for your world's challenges. Kraza's claws tapped lightly on the floor. You say danger is normal, but I see fear in your eyes too. How do you live with it? David's smile faded. You get used to it. Or you don't. Some people never do. But most of us don't think about danger all the time. It's just part of life. The door to the amphitheater opened quietly. A tall figure stepped in, Dean Maverick, the university's head. His armor gleamed softly, and his eyes scanned the room with concern. I've heard about the field trip, he said, voice low but firm. A virtual journey to Earth? It's unprecedented. Estaro stood. Yes, Dean. Mr. Brown has offered to guide us. It has been difficult for many students, but it is a powerful lesson. Maverick nodded slowly. I understand the value. But we must consider the risks. Exposure to death worlds, even virtually, can cause trauma. We must prepare for that. David looked at the dean. I didn't mean to frighten anyone. I just want to share where I come from. Maverick studied David's bronze skin and determined eyes. You carry the strength of your world. But strength alone may not be enough. The dean turned to Kraza. Miss Kraza, you handled yourself well today. Your courage is needed. We must craft new lessons that teach respect for all worlds and their dangers. Kraza bowed her head slightly. I will do my best, Dean. The dean looked at Estaro. Prepare a plan for gradual exposure. Start with safer zones, build understanding, then move to harsher environments. The galaxy must learn about Earth carefully. Estaro nodded. Yes, Dean. I will begin immediately. After the dean left, Kraza turned to David. How did you learn to survive so well? David shrugged. Family, community. We teach kids from birth. We respect nature, but we don't fear it. Kraza frowned. Your people are brave. David laughed softly. Sometimes foolish. But we learn. Estaro's eyes darkened. Your story is a warning and a lesson. The galaxy must prepare for humans. Not just for their strength, but for the way they live with danger. David looked out the window. The stars outside seemed smaller, colder. I want the galaxy to understand us, he said quietly. Not just fear us. The three sat together in silence, the weight of the lesson settling on them all. The next day, the classroom was filled again with students from many worlds. But the air was different now. There was nervous energy mixed with curiosity. The lesson was no longer just about data and danger, it was about life. Professor Estaro stood once more at the stone platform. His crystalline surface shimmered softly, calming the restless room. Today, we continue our journey through Earth's deadly zones, he said. But we will take it step by step. No sudden shocks. We will learn together. David sat quietly in row 4, watching the students with a new sense of respect. Some still looked afraid, but others were eager to understand. Estaro activated the projector. The 3D Earth appeared again, but this time it focused on a lush green land, Africa. The African continent, Estaro began. Another death world, but different from Australia. Its dangers are ancient and fierce. Predators rule the plains, and survival depends on strength and cunning. Images flashed of lions hunting, elephants charging, and venomous snakes slithering through grass. The students murmured. Many knew about these creatures but had never seen them so close. Kraza raised her hand. Professor, how do humans survive here? It seems as deadly as Australia. David smiled. In Africa, it's about knowing the land and the animals. People there live in balance with nature, much like we do in Australia. Estaro nodded. Humans have adapted to many environments on Earth. Their resilience is remarkable. The class listened intently as the projection shifted to show villages, farms, and people moving carefully through the wild. David added, humans use tools, knowledge, and community. They respect the dangers and prepare for them. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the room. The projector zoomed in on a pride of lions resting in the sun. The students leaned forward, tense. The simulation felt alive. David whispered, "You never know when they're watching." Kraza's claws twitched. It is easy to see why Earth is called a death world. Estaro's voice softened. But it is also a world of life and connection. Danger and beauty coexist. The room fell silent as the lesson ended. Students left slowly, their minds filled with new understanding. David and Kraza stayed behind. Kraza looked at David with new respect. "You live on a planet that teaches strength," she said quietly. "But also respect." David nodded. "That's the key. Respect for the land, the animals, and each other." Estaro watched them, hope shining in his crystal eyes. The galaxy was beginning to understand Earth. And humans.